The night I learned my father-in-law was planning to erase me from my own company, I didn't scream, I didn't confront him. I moved $118 million before sunrise, and by morning, the man who thought he owned my future realized he never understood who he was dealing with. From the 82nd floor of our glass penthouse in New York City, the world looked obedient. The Hudson reflected city lights like scattered diamonds. Helicopters blinked across the skyline. Yellow cabs crawled like glowing veins below. Everything I could see I had helped build, not physically, strategically. My name is Daniel Mercer, founder of Mercer Capital Holdings, a private equity and real estate powerhouse that grew from one risky condo conversion in Brooklyn to luxury developments across Miami, Austin, and Seattle. By 38, I had built what business magazines loved to call a generational empire. But empires don't collapse from the outside, they rot from within. Victoria Hale wasn't just beautiful. She was composed, intelligent, raised in rooms where senators waited their turn to speak. Her father, Richard Hale, wasn't merely wealthy, he was legacy. 3 decades in development, political alliances, old Manhattan money, board seats, influence that didn't need to be loud. When I married Victoria, the headlines read, "Self-made mogul marries real estate royalty." People assumed I had leveled up. What they didn't realize, Richard Hale didn't believe in equals, only assets and liabilities. 2 years after our wedding, Richard proposed a merger. Hale Development plus Mercer Capital, joint venture, shared leadership, will dominate the luxury vertical market, he said over dinner in our penthouse. Generational wealth, the deal, clean, 50-50 equity split, board parity, shared capital commitments. But Richard was old-school strategic. He didn't attack from the front, he buried landmines in footnotes. That Thursday, rain hammered the glass like the city was warning me. Victoria was at a charity gala in Manhattan. Richard came over to discuss debt restructuring. He poured 2 glasses of 25-year scotch. He talked calmly about market cycles, interest rate shifts. Sometimes, he'd casually, "You have to make difficult leadership adjustments." I didn't think much of it until I heard my name from down the hallway. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but the study door wasn't fully closed. Richard's voice was low, controlled. "It won't see it coming. We trigger the covenant breach, freeze operational liquidity, and request emergency governance review." Pause. "He'll either sign control transfer or collapse under pressure." My stomach dropped. Then he said something that felt personal. "He's brilliant, but he's not legacy." Legacy. That burned. 6 months earlier, during refinancing, Richard insisted we include a protective acceleration clause. He framed it as defensive. If leverage ratios exceeded a threshold, the board could intervene. I signed it, 'cause I trusted him. But now I realize, it wasn't protection, it was a loaded gun, and he was about to pull the trigger, the man he thought I was. Richard thought I was ambitious, risk-tolerant, aggressive. He wasn't wrong, but he underestimated one thing. I grew up without safety nets, no family capital, no fallback. Every contract I signed I dissected, every structure I built I layered. Mercer Capital wasn't a company, it was a network. Holdings nested within holdings, liquidity parked offshore in Zurich, strategic reserves in Delaware trusts, convertible notes tied to private partners who answered to me, not him. If he triggered the clause, he'd shake the surface, but he wouldn't reach the foundation unless I let him. I locked myself in my office, opened the secure terminal, called my legal counsel in Boston. "Activate contingency shield," I said. There was a long pause. "That's extreme, Daniel." "So is betrayal." Within hours, $118 million reallocated from joint liquidity pools to development escrow accounts. Voting rights reassigned through emergency protective provisions. 3 flagship properties transferred under a Mercer-exclusive holding structure. Board bylaws amended under pre-approved defensive triggers. Everything legal, everything documented, everything devastating. By 4:42 a.m., Richard no longer had the leverage he thought he did. She came home glowing from the gala. Then, my face. "What happened?" I looked at her carefully. "How much do you know about your father's restructuring plan?" Her smile faded. Rupturing, I studied her eyes. There was confusion, not calculation. For the first time that night, I felt something worse than anger, uncertainty. If she wasn't part of it, then she was about to be caught between us. At 9:03 a.m., my phone rang. Richard. Daniel, he began smoothly. I think we need to discuss leadership stability. You mean the vote you scheduled? Silence. You heard. I hear everything. Then I delivered the line he didn't expect. You no longer control the threshold required to call that vote. The shift in his breathing was subtle, but was there. What did you move? Only what belonged to me. Monday morning. Private boardroom in Midtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Tension. Smoke. Richard presented charts showing risk exposure. I presented updated governance structures. When legal confirmed that emergency voting rights had shifted under protective bylaws, the room went silent. He had miscalculated, not because he wasn't smart, but because he believed control was inherited. I built mine. Weeks later, my forensic team uncovered emails. Richard had been planning gradual dilution over 3 quarters. Slow, quiet, strategic. He wasn't trying to destroy me overnight. He was trying to suffocate me slowly. That realization hurt more than the plot itself. This wasn't business. This, removal. We met alone at his Park Avenue office. He didn't offer me a drink this time. You escalated this unnecessarily, he said. No, I replied calmly. I finished what you started. I slid the buyout terms across the desk. Full separation, asset division, non-interference agreement. He stared at it for a long time. You'd fracture the family over control? You fractured it when you tried to erase me. For the first time, Richard Hale looked old. Hale Mercer dissolved within 6 months. The press called it strategic restructuring. Investors called it a calculated divergence. Only 3 people knew the truth. Richard. Victoria. Victoria stayed. But trust doesn't regenerate like capital. It scars. I still wake up some nights and replay that hallway moment. Voice. He's not legacy. Maybe, was right. I wasn't born into power. I wasn't handed influence. I wasn't raised in boardrooms. I built everything from scratch. And that's exactly why he couldn't take it from me. That night I didn't just move millions. I moved the balance of power. And the man who tried to drown me in my own empire learned something too late. Self-made men don't panic, we prepare. And that was the night I realized. Betrayal doesn't come from enemies, it comes from the people sitting at your own table. If this story kept you on edge, if you believe loyalty is more powerful than legacy, make sure you subscribe, because the next story might make you question who you trust in your own life. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.